Hey everyone, and welcome to the second episode of Forge History. In this Forge History video, we will be delving into the Forge history of an infection forger, which is the Omicron.
Hello.
And for this video, we will be talking about his maps in Halo Reach and Halo 4. In each game, we'll be talking about 4 maps, and we'll be dividing them into 4 categories. The first category will be first map, and then most learned map, and then personal favorite, and then the best map. Anyway, without further ado, because we've been here for the past hour, because the first take where we finished the entire video, Omi forgot to fucking press record on his fucking God! God! No, I'm not.
Okay, moving on. All right, first map was entitled ZETA, which we're talking about Halo Reach here because Halo 3 I don't have any files to. I'm not going to go on about that. But first map was ZETA from Halo Reach. It was basically, to say it in most simplest terms, it was a Coliseum-like circular room that played an octagon variant. And the floor was like grass and it had rocks and stuff, and it was supposed to look like a used Coliseum. Had a bridge going down through the middle on the upper platforms on the sides, and there were spawn points all around the circle. And I mean, I think everybody understands what octagon is. It was my first map. I didn't mean it to be a serious map. I don't even know why I made it, because I didn't have any friends to play it really, because at that time none of my friends had an Xbox really, or Xbox Live at least. And yeah, that's about it.
So you weren't able to test this one. You just made it and just.
No, and it really didn't. I didn't test it, and I don't think it really needs testing because it was a circle. There wasn't much of a layout. There was no weapons down on the map or anything like that. But it did get a feature from my good buddy old pal Sawtooth Money. I haven't heard from him in years now, but he might.
He could be watching this video.
He could be. He's probably not. He may be dead for all I know. I'm sorry if you are.
There you go. Shout out to that guy.
Yeah, that guy. So moving on to my second map that I'm going to talk about, which I would consider my most learned map, would be Injection, which is actually also my second map that I've ever made. Serious, actually, like that I would call a map, quote. And this was my first infection map. This was also a submission to a contest that the PFL Pro Forge League hosted. If you don't know who the Pro Forge League were, they don't really exist anymore, but I mean, the people are still alive. It was Zinchu, Mr. Pokephile, Damn Civilian, and not at the time, but now, or was, Narp Guy. But yeah, so I was like, what the heck? They have prizes. I'm all about prizes. And they had first, second, third place. And with the help of my friend at the time, Mount Ragemore, which is a fantastic name, may I add, he helped me make an infection map. It was kind of a space-themed, kind of Dead Spacey map on the inside of the Coliseum in Forge World. And I didn't really know what I was doing in terms of layout and game type wise, because I've never been good at game types at all. But it was a fairly decent map, and I actually got third place in the contest, which was extremely surprising, especially since this was my first like legitimate map. Moving on to the third map that I'm going to talk about, which I would consider my personal favorite, would be Fall of Divinity's Reach. And Divinity's Reach is supposed to be the frigate, which is actually kind of a really tiny frigate if you're going to scale it correctly. But it's a frigate that me and Dunes, my good pal, made for a contest that Mr. Pokephile hosted, his Necrosis game type. And so me and Dunes thought of the idea of having like survivors from a frigate crash on like an island full of, I guess, necrosis infected zombies. And so you have these long sight lines through like the crashed like frigate field, and like you have pieces of the ship, and we thought it was pretty good. But yeah, me and Dunes didn't actually place in the contest, Mr. Pokephile's contest, but we did get a shout out at least, and we're really proud of it. I'm not used to making outdoor maps because as you'll find out later on with like my Halo 4 maps and such, they're almost all entirely indoor maps, almost. But yeah, I really like it. It was definitely a challenge to make. It took quite a lot of time, and I know Dunes helped me quite a bit on it. So
yeah, shout out to Dunes. Done easy.
Done easy.
Yeah, he could be watching.
Oh, he is watching. Don't worry, he has no life. Oh, sorry. Okay, so I guess that. Yeah, that was my personal favorite. So the last map I'm going to talk about in Halo Reach would be what I would consider my best map, at least at the time, and for Halo Reach, would be Genesis. It was a linear map, and at the time, linear was a brand new game type, and I was like, what the heck is this new linear game type? I've never heard of it. People are making it, and it's kind of awesome. So I had my hand at it. It has 4 phases. The phases are really short. You don't move very far in between each phase. It got some pretty good feedback. It wasn't for a contest or anything. It was more of to see how the whole linear infection kind of worked and whatnot. But it ended up being a really good map, and it was well received from the community that I was, kind of hanging out with at the time. Moving on to Halo 4. Can you hear my brother?
Not loud, but it was like,
Really?
It's like a mumble. Like,
I'll go yell at him.
Okay.
I'm gonna go
Healthy
yell at him
family.
real quick. Hey, people. Hey, I'm in the middle of an interview, and I can pick up your voices.
Okay, guys, while Omi isn't here, I want you guys to know he's actually my mother. I know it may be hard to believe, but it's true. She's watched me go through puberty. I call him the Omi mom. Right now, my anus is incredibly bleached because last night was kind of crazy for me. We had a lot going on. It was a disaster. But yeah, it ended up with me falling asleep in the gutter with my ass sticking out. The cops found me there, like drooling on the ground, and it was pretty hard to like wake up the next morning and try to pretend nothing ever happened.
Alright, sorry.
Because you're here, okay.
Someone else here? Moving on to Halo 4, my first map was Scrapyard, which was also a co-forge with iBolt HD 2011, which is actually his name now is Bolt HD. This map was extremely generic, like you would expect for a first map. Well, it was for me
Well,
at
it looks
least.
generic.
But yeah, thanks, you're generic.
Okay.
It was basically a scrapyard. It had pieces on fixed, and it was on one of the asteroids on impact, and had a building connected to it. It was kind of like a practice map, and it did use actually me and Polwa's game type Phagin that we made at the
I love
time.
Phagin.
Yeah, but Scrapyard in itself really wasn't very noteworthy as a map, other than that it was my first map, and iBolts and I created it, and
Dude, he could
it was
be
a
watching.
fun map. He could be watching. You
Hi,
know.
shout out.
Shout out to Bolt HD. He makes intros. He's pretty cool. Moving on to my next map, would be Collapsed. I would consider this my most learned map. And originally the map title was A Feast for Crows, but I actually had to change the name of the map for matchmaking, but it really didn't get into matchmaking, but I'll talk about that later on. But this map was where was the point in my forging history where I recognized that I really like to make indoor maps, because I began to realize that if you have an indoor map, entirely indoor, then you don't have to worry about stuff poking through walls, really. So you can have pieces on the outer walls and the ceiling and the flooring, and it doesn't matter what it looks like other than the single texture that you're looking at. So because of that, you can make some pretty cool looking textures and whatnot, and from this map on, I began to realize that indoor maps are kind of the way I like to forge. So with A Feast for Crows, since I made an indoor map, I could focus on all the textures and whatnot, and because of that, I could really focus on the gameplay, and I didn't have to worry about the aesthetics as much. So I actually was one of the forgers that got picked to help get maps for HiveMind for matchmaking. And so I'm like, alright, I'll take a swing at it. And so I tweaked A Feast for Crows a ton, and with the name change to Collapsed and a bunch of other things, it got really close to getting into matchmaking. But since it was on erosion and I made it really close down, close to the green pools and whatnot, people tended to suicide because they're dumb. And I can't do anything about that. People like Zandril.
Okay.
But because of that, it didn't get into matchmaking. And because, obviously, there'd be too much suicide because too many dumb people, but that's okay. But A Feast for Crows was still a great learning curve for me, and I learned a lot. I think it got like 4 or 5 features, which is pretty remarkable. Moving on to my personal favorite map, and the third map that I'm going to talk about in Halo 4 is something different.
What makes it different?
Because it's different. Everything is different about it. That's what makes it different.
Just named it something
Zandril.
bad.
Oh, like you? No, I can't do that. Something Zandril? I can't do that. Anyways, shout out to Easy Target for thinking of the name. Thank you. And the map's not really that different. I mean, I'm a hipster, so I wanted to name it something different. And it's a map on erosion. It's fully enclosed. It's really small. And I focused on the eeriness and the atmosphere mostly on this map. Since the map was so small, I actually had to make my own game type for this map, which was concepts.
I do like your computer aesthetics though, with the thing you made with the Dominion pieces.
Yeah, thanks. I actually got that was the first map that I made like electronics and computers on, and I continued to use those type of aesthetics and maps later on in my quote forging career. So moving on to my fourth map I'm going to talk about, and my last map, and also what I would consider my best map in Halo 4, Constellation. Constellation was a map on Impact, and it actually ended up being in matchmaking. The original name for it was something Lucid, and don't ask me why I liked maps named with something blank. I just did. And so something Lucid or Constellation was a map that actually used the game type Last Stand created by Paints. I was a really big fan of it. I played a number of his maps that used the Last Stand game type, and so I'm like, hey, I'll take my swing at it. And so I did, and Constellation was the outcome. It's not a very large map. It's pretty simplistic in design, actually. It's kind of like a figure 8 with a little alcove on the one end, and it was really well received because it almost was such a simplistic design, but yet it was really well done in terms of the balance, I guess, and the aesthetics were. It looked decent. I mean, Zandril thinks it looks absolutely dreadful.
No, I don't. I just
again,
I think it's
again,
not one
mad.
of your
It's
prettiest
fine.
maps. No, I think it's not one of your prettiest maps because I mean you had to like keep it simple for matchmaking and all that fun stuff. But
Right.
it definitely one of your best playing maps.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It did get into matchmaking for Last Stand, which is awesome, actually.
This map is like all that people voted for anytime Last Stand showed up.
It was also broken for a
Got
while.
kind of. Oh yeah, like Acorn showed it in his video. Like he broke the elevator.
Shout out to Acorn. If you're watching, which we all know you're not watching. So, yeah.
He's in his Mormon mission.
That's right.
Anyway, guys, that is pretty much it for this Forge History video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. if you have any more suggestions on what I can improve or change regarding this video, just let me know so that the next Forge history will be an improvement. For example, the like the scene in the middle of this video, that was actually legit. Like Omicron's brother was actually like making noise, and we had to like seize the interview. And I figured I'd just keep it in and like not cut it out, just to give the video a little bit of a lighter side. But you know, if you want it to be, you know, all serious and all about the maps, and I'll, you know, just remove all that stuff, just let me know. Anyway, I will see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.